see there's a few more, 2 or 3 here.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming on a Sunday afternoon when most of you would be lying in bed or doing your chores. But I think we are at a very crucial period now, the final weekend before our elections, which is on Saturday. I'm sure all of you are feeling the election fever and the spirit in the air is moving. So, just like to thank Reverend Herman for allowing us to use this premises, the Council of Churches Malaysia.
Sorry, it's small. No problem.
If I may give you a bit of background, we are from the Center for Public Policy Studies. I'm Trisha, and the reason why we wanted to have it was because we had the privilege of Dr. Farish, Noor, and Malik Imtiaz as well. I'll talk a bit about them later. But basically, we didn't have a lot of time to look for a place. So just like to emphasize that the fact that we're having it here at the Council of Churches Malaysia doesn't mean that we are in any way biased towards one religion or another. We welcome all Muslims and all in the spirit of, Bangsa Malaysia. So I'm glad that you're all here and hope that you don't feel too cramped or anything. Okay, so just a bit about CPPS. CPPS is an independent, non-partisan think tank. We do public policy research and analysis. We try and provide educated facts and figures to people out there. So if you go on our website, for example, we've been doing a series of policy fact sheets for you guys to read about issues like corruption, crime and safety, urban transportation, and to provide you the sort of ammunition that you need to go into the polling booth as an educated voter. We don't advocate for one or another position, but you guys are the ones who have to make the decision. And I think as we grow and mature into a society that is more progressive and developed, that is really what we mean by a developed society. Being able to make an educated decision and not one that is based on pure emotion. Okay, so today we have with us Dr. Farish Noor on my right here. Dr. Farish is no stranger to us who like to read a sort of a more developed critical analysis of Malaysia. Okay, he has been writing on his website, theothermalaysia.org, but unfortunately Malaysia kind of threw him out to Germany for 7 long years, but he's back with us now, so let's give us a He's right now a senior fellow at the Rajaratnam School of International Studies. That's at NTU in Singapore. So not quite Malaysia, but almost there. Okay, closer than Germany in that sense. He's the director of research on transnational religion in Southeast Asia. I'll have to ask him what that means actually. He's also affiliated with some universities in Indonesia, Yogyakarta. He writes a lot. He's got a book on writing from the war on terror, a book on From Majapahit to Putrajaya, How Far We've Come, and on Islam Embedded, the historical development of past. So very much a discourse on religion and politics in the country. And on his right, we have Mr. Malik Imtiaz. Malik Imtiaz is a very well-known human rights lawyer and activist in the country. He is president of the National Human Rights Society, Hakam, and I think most of you would know him best for his work and contributions to Article 11. Article 11 is a coalition of non-governmental organizations that came together to talk about religious freedom and emphasizing the article in our federal constitution. So he's been involved in promoting the rule of law on the constitution. He talks about Islamization, race, politics, and he will provide a reflection on our thoughts. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Farish Noor to talk about elections, in particular race-based elections. And we know that we cannot run away from that, but is there an alternative to that? And he's going to explore some of the themes therein. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trisha, and thank you all of you for being here today. Are there any Singaporean journalists here by any chance? Because I want to pick up a theme that Trisha mentioned just now in the introduction about how I think at this election, all parties are going to face a very different Malaysian electorate across the board. Perhaps the best informed, best connected, the most mobilized Malaysian public that will actually reflect the diversity and pluralism of Malaysian society today. And just before I left Singapore, it's 5 hours by bus, by the way. Just before I left Singapore, I had to do an interview with a Singaporean journalist, and she asked me some questions. One of the questions struck me as very interesting, but sounded very typically Singaporean. So that's why I'm asking, are there any Singaporean journalists? So I wondered, like, who wrote her questions? Because one of the questions was, are you not worried that people are demonstrating in Malaysia? Is this not dangerous? I thought, I think the old man wrote this, you know. And so I said, look, hang on. I'm happy that people are demonstrating in Malaysia. I'd be happy if my students were demonstrating, in fact. But these are symptoms, these are signs of a society that's maturing, that the Malaysian public is actually coming out and making demands of our political process and making demands of the parties. Now, what concerns me as a political historian who actually works on political religion, not just political Islam, but political religion in general, is that as we've all seen over the past 2 years, a number of issues have come to the fore because of culprits like this who go around defending freedom of religion. and because of the reaction that has come to this. And this has the pitch, the tone and tenor of this discourse. Not only does it come to the foreground to make this election in particular one where communal religious issues are at the foreground, even the tone and tenor, the form and content of this discourse has shifted to a very different register, something that we have not witnessed. And basically, this is what I'm going to touch upon. I wrote in my Facebook entry, I'm ashamed to admit I'm on Facebook, but I wrote in my Facebook entry where they have this column that says, what are you doing now? And I said, I'm supporting Sivarasa Rasia from PKR, Hatta Ramli and Zulkifli Ahmad from PAS. And someone actually wrote back and said, why not parties? Why are you not supporting the parties? Why are you supporting individuals? And I think this is an interesting question, because if you look at this election in particular, we see a very high number of independent candidates. And in the patterns of support, the support that we are seeing, not just from myself, but from many people, we seem to be focusing more and more on individuals. We pin our hope now on individuals who have made a commitment that if they were to come to power, they would bring about changes, either through putting through private members' bills, to forward issues which they know their parties will not take up. Issues like gender equality, racial equality, religious pluralism, which parties will not endorse. And I think when we look at the composition of the candidates for this election, with a high number of independent candidates, this would perhaps reflect a cynicism on the part of a lot of Malaysians in the party political process. Because we've been fed all these slogans and manifestos time and again. You know, this is the 12th hidangan that we are getting. You know, the menu is the same, by the way. I like very much the piece that Trisha wrote about manifestos, and how if you go back and you read the manifesto, like I've got a copy of the 1959 Barisan National Manifesto, and if I showed that to you now, it looks very similar to the manifesto that we're getting today. So we're being fed the same thing on the same menu, and all the parties are doing this to us, by the way. So we now pin our hopes on individuals because the issues that concern us Malaysians, have not been addressed after 50 years. And it's partly because of the fact that these issues have not been addressed, and they've been either marginalized or silenced or relegated to the back pages of the newspapers, that I think we've witnessed what's happening in Malaysia today. We all know that we are about to head to an election in 1 week's time where issues that are basically sectarian and communitarian are going to come to the fore. And if you do a cursory survey of the vernacular press in this country,